In this bale, I planted 4 slips in the bale and 3 slips in front of the bale. This is what they looked like on June 4th, and as you can see, they're just getting started. This is what they look like a month later on July 6th. By September, the bale had disappeared and the vines had sprawled out in all directions, and it was time to harvest. I started by trimming all the vines around the straw bale so we could see what we were harvesting, and I sped up this process so it wouldn't take as long. And as you can see, the vines were pretty thick. And one thing I've done with sweet potato vines, once they get started like this, I cut off some and stick them in a jar until they root. And then you have sweet potato slips that you can transfer to other areas of your yard. Sometimes I get some smaller potatoes that way. I actually started getting into the bale before I realized that I didn't have the camera on, so I have a few potatoes that I already had harvested. But the best ones are still in the bale, as you'll see here in a couple of minutes. It was just a matter of moving the straw around and searching for potatoes, kind of like you would searching for Easter eggs. They were randomly distributed through the bale, except for a couple of large bunches like this one. I think the looseness of the straw allows the potatoes to grow larger, because it seems like the looser the soil or the looser the straw, the larger the potatoes are. As you can see, some of these sweet potatoes are really nice sized. This is the second straw bale that I harvested, so if you didn't see the video of the first straw bale, I'll put a link down below. And even though we have some very large sweet potatoes in this bale, the largest one I harvested this year was from the other bale. I was really impressed with how the red Garnet Sweet Potatoes did in this bale, and I plan to try them again next year in bales. As you can see, some of them extend down into the ground and are rooted, but a lot of them are just in the bale itself and are very easy to harvest. Just when I thought I'd pulled out all the potatoes out of a particular part of the bale, I started digging around and found some more. There were a lot of small ones as well as the really large ones. Since this was the first time I've ever grown sweet potatoes in a straw bale, it could just be beginner's luck, but I'm impressed enough with the results to give it a try again. If you've ever grown sweet potatoes in straw bales, be sure and let us know how you did down in the comments section. I'd like to hear about it, and I'm sure others would too. I've grown sweet potatoes in grow bags, in the ground, and in straw bales. And so far I like the way the straw bales are working best. But loose, well-drained soil can also produce very good results. I was impressed with the overall size of the sweet potatoes that we got from this straw bale, but I was also impressed by the overall number of potatoes we got. I'm already starting to get a pretty good pile of sweet potatoes, and we haven't even gotten to the ones in front of the bale yet. And these two right here are some really nice ones. That one's a little odd shape though. That one might look a little funny, but I'm thinking that it'll probably taste just like the rest of them. Just when it seems like I'm done with harvesting the bale, I find more potatoes. Some of the really small ones I like to save for the next year to start slips from. I think it's easier to work with a smaller one than a larger one. And like I mentioned before, just when I think I'm done, I dig through the straw and find more. There was even a couple of pretty nice ones left. After I put that last nice one on the pile, I thoroughly went through all the straw, and I did find a couple more small ones, but that was about it. After I gathered those last few small potatoes from inside the straw, It was time to move all the potatoes and dig the ones in front of the bale. I trimmed the vines back so I could see where the original slips were. Then I tried to keep the potato fork back enough to where I wouldn't damage the potatoes and also try not to break them. So I finished it off by pulling them up by hand. They may not be as good as the ones in the bale, but these will come in pretty handy later on this year and early next year. We originally had 3 slips planted in front of the bale, so it was time to move on to the next ones. The middle slip produced no sweet potatoes at all, so this is the 3rd and final slip. And like in the other spot, I finished this one up by hand. And even though it had a couple of roots, unfortunately there were no potatoes. So that was very disappointing. Before you go, let us know what your favorite variety of sweet potato is. And if you're just now finding this channel and you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. We'll see you next time.